Today I'm joined by Phil Golding. Phil's the Managing Director of Supplytrain, which is a social enterprise working across the UK to help young people access a fairer start into work. So, welcome, Phil.
Thanks for having me, Simon. It's really great to be here.
Good. No, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. So Phil, tell us a bit more about Supplytrain and what you do.
Okay, so basically Supplytrain, as you say, we're a social enterprise, and our kind of mission is to help employers to create fair routes into work. So we do a lot of work with businesses, especially small businesses that don't often have those kind of internal teams, to kind of look at where the skills gaps are coming and see, is there a way they can kind of recruit people who they might not necessarily recruit. So for example, people who don't have the usual qualifications they're after, or connections or previous experience. And then we help those employers kind of put together a package of support, usually involves training, but not always, can be kind of mentoring to help those young people get up to speed so that it reduces skills gaps, helps the businesses, and creates fair routes into work by giving people from different backgrounds or haven't gone to the right school, the right university, a chance to kind of prove themselves in the workplace.
Great, love it. Sounds really good. So just briefly, what's the benefits for the employee, and what's the benefits for the employer in what you provide?
So for the employee, we work with a lot of people who say, basically talent is everywhere, opportunity isn't. That's, the kind of crux of what we're talking about. So we get a lot of people who come to us and say, I've got the ambition, I've got the drive to kind of make it work, but I might not have been to the right university, or I might have had, some mental health problems in the past or something like that. And I can't access an opportunity because businesses are always asking for 1 or 2 years experience and I haven't got it. So what we do is we help those people by encouraging employers to kind of look at another way of recruiting. So we provide a kind of recruitment service, which we attach mentoring support to. So an employer would take on a young person and they have a careers coach who kind of checks in with them regularly. So say they have problems at home, family life or issues, travel issues, getting to work, or just they're struggling. It might be their first job. They're struggling to kind of fit in the workplace. They have someone kind of impartial that they can talk to not make any stupid decisions. Because, I remember when I was young, you might take a job, you have like one bad week and you think, right, I'm off. And we're kind of working with young people to say, that's not the mentality, like this is your opportunity, but you have to take it. So we've had some amazing stories. We know people who, even in our own office, we took a girl who was sofa surfing. She didn't have kind of a big family support network. And we like to think we kind of live and breathe what we're talking to other employees about. So we gave her an opportunity. We took her in, we gave her time to kind of settle in. And now she's been with us 2 years. She's got her own flat in Eastbourne. She's kind of got rid of a lot of the sort of her social circle that was kind of setting her back. And she's really thriving. We hope to kind of turn her into a manager. And she is a classic example of what we're trying to help other businesses do as well, instead of saying that there's skills gaps, but not doing anything differently to address that.
And what about the employer? What's the benefits to the employer? By the way, I love that story. I love hearing things like that. But,
okay,
what's the benefits to the employer of working with yourselves
So I guess we predominantly work with small businesses, and the reason for that is we feel there's small businesses in every community, and they don't have the sort of teams. They might not have a big HR team. They can't run like a massive kind of recruitment drive to encourage young people coming in. And they can leave them a little bit short-sighted, where they're just looking to bring in experience here and now. And unfortunately, collectively, that means the kind of talent pool is getting smaller and smaller. And there isn't that sort of wide pipeline of new entrants coming through and learning those basic skills. So we work with those employers to look a little bit longer, a little bit broader. So, for example, we're one of 35 companies in the country which is called a flexi job apprenticeship agency, and essentially that means we're approved by government to employ apprentices on behalf of other businesses. A lot of small businesses will say, you know, we'd love to take on apprentices. There's too much admin. All the government paperwork's a nightmare. We can't find young people. We don't know which training program. So we try and provide a service. We say, well, we'll take care of all of that. You just tell us, give us a job description, give us a person spec. We'll find the training provider. We'll find the young people to come and work for you. We'll meet your spec and we will employ them on your behalf. So there's not even any employment risk. And we might employ them for the first 6 months. And then once they're happy and they decide, yes, this is someone we want to stay with us, then we transfer employment to them. A bit like a kind of temp recruitment agency, but there's more to it in that it is an official apprenticeship and there's loads of support. So I guess, generally speaking, businesses save time, they save money, and they are looking a little bit further ahead. So over time, they won't have these big skills gap challenges that they currently have at the moment.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. That's great, Phil. And Phil, out of interest, how did you get into what you're doing now? How did you get into this type of industry business?
So that's a good question. So I guess my passion for this comes from my own kind of lived experience. So when I was in my early 20s, I had a lot of mental health issues, and I worked a lot of temp jobs. I used to knock on doors selling double glazing. I used to cut grass for the council. I used to anything. I couldn't be inside because a lot of my issues were kind of around social anxiety. But I knew I was quite good at kind of sales and marketing and talking to people, even though I had these issues. And I applied for a job, and it was the first interview I went to where I told the truth, and I told them I had these mental health problems, and I was gobsmacked that they gave me the job. And they basically said, yeah, you're great, we'll take you on and we'll support you. So don't worry, you don't have to come to the big meetings. You don't have to come to those awkward social situations. We will build you up over time. And I'm so grateful for that, because that helped me get over kind of a lot of my mental health problems. The reason I set up Supplytrain is to kind of play that forward. So essentially that's what we're trying to do, is just help other people. It doesn't have to be mental health. It could be, you know, they come from a poor background. So, you know, for example, we're doing some work in the TV and film industry, where quite often the entry-level role for that is you start as a runner, and generally speaking, it's unpaid. You need a car, you need to, you know, and there's things that people from less well-off backgrounds just can't access. They can't afford to work for nothing. They don't have a car, you know, so they're kind of cut off from those opportunities. So we're just building a team that will, wherever there are barriers to employment, wherever there's a gap between education and employers, we want to hear from those employers, and we will try and put a package together to basically bridge the gap, I guess.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. And so you're the managing director at Supplytrain.
Yeah.
So what was your biggest challenge about sort of becoming a managing director? Because, you know, previously if I understand correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you were an employee for other businesses, and then you've sort of stepped up to being a managing director. And by the way, are you the owner of Supplytrain?
Yes, as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about what the biggest challenge it's been to become an owner and a managing director of a business.
Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted. It is a challenge. I think, you know, when you go from being an employee to being an employer or self-employed, it is difficult. There's a lot of work and there's a lot of unknowns. So I think, you know, if it is something you're looking at doing, I think you'll never know all the answers. Like, there's part of you just has to take the jump. I think I've always wanted my own business. What I've struggled with working for other people is that sometimes the mission on paper is only on paper, and it doesn't kind of transcend through the whole company. Whereas at least if I'm in charge, and maybe it's a control thing, I don't know, but if I'm in charge, then I can kind of make sure, and I can lead that to make sure it is implemented in everything we do. So that's why I set up on my own. But it is difficult, and I think, you know, I mean, I'm not a kind of academic person, I don't think. So what I like about business or anything, my sort of philosophy for life is you learn through your mistakes. And I think business is no different, really. You have to kind of set up, you have to have a sort of central mission, and try and keep to that as close as you can. But you will make mistakes along the way. You will have, it's like a roller coaster ride. Sometimes there's money coming in, it's great. And sometimes you bid for some work and it doesn't come off, and, you know, you start to worry about all those kinds of things and making sure your staff can pay the mortgages and all that. It's not easy, but it's just a relentless pursuit of making it work, I guess.
Right. And you mentioned there, like, your staff. What sort of size of team do you have at the moment, Phil?
So we are a small business, so there's only 6 of us, but we are looking to grow, hopefully, over the coming years, especially with this Flexi apprenticeship agency I mentioned. So that's something we were only approved for in January, and already we've started a project with the fishing industry. We're doing another local project in Hastings in construction, and we feel this is actually a really good package that will allow us to kind of grow and support more people. But yeah, even with just 6 people, it's, you know, it has its challenges, kind of making sure everyone is sort of, you know, doing what they need to do, and everyone's kind of can get paid, and there's opportunities to progress and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's I often find this when with my clients, when working with them, is that actually, you know, you find, and particularly when the business is smaller, that actually you're undertaking most of the roles. You know, you've got, you know, you're actually sort of a recruitment person, but actually you've also got to do the finance and the sales and the marketing and HR and leadership and management, and, you know, it's juggling all of those sort of things. So what do you do in particular to help you to juggle all those different things?
Well, I'm very lucky. So I do employ some amazing people that I agree, kind of like the finance stuff. We've got a finance director who's amazing. So, you know, and I admit that's my weak spot. She is, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but she's very hot on the finances. But you're right, there is a lot of kind of juggling. I think delegation is so important. It's a skill that you need to learn, and you need to be comfortable. You can't do all the jobs. It's impossible. You can't do everything. You do need to be able to delegate, and you do need to be able to support people understand what you want from something. So like the marketing, I have an idea of how I want us to market our company, but I haven't got the time to do it. So you do have to relinquish some of that control and be comfortable with that as well, I think, to let other people bring their own ideas in. But yeah, we've got a really good team. We've got some experienced people that kind of drive the business, and then we've got younger people. There's we kind of trying to live our own values that we bring in, and we're kind of teaching them what to do, and we hope we can turn them into the leaders of tomorrow. Yeah,
no, I think, you know, some great sort of, you know, things there, and one thing in particular that you said there that rings true with me is surround yourself with a great team.
Yeah.
All successful businesses, the business owner has surrounded themselves with a great team.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
Absolutely right. But yeah, the delegation, the time management, you know, feeling comfortable with other people doing things, all great points. So what would you say the biggest lesson that you learned since you've been a business owner and a managing director?
Oh, that's a big question. The biggest lesson that I've learned, I think it's to don't give up. I know that sounds really cheesy and cliche, but you will have bad days. It is a roller coaster, as I say, and I think just you don't need to don't chase the work, I guess. Like, so from our point of view, it's really important we work with the right employers. And sometimes there would be a tendency to think, well, let's just market ourselves to everybody. You know, all if we market to 100,000 businesses, we'll win more work. But actually, you're kind of diluting what you do. So I think having, you know, knowing who your target audience is and knowing why they should choose you is really powerful, rather than chasing the whole market and not really appealing to anyone. So yes, we do have kind of months where, especially when we started out, where things were difficult, but we are starting to build that base, and then they go on and they tell their other businesses they work with about your organization, and you kind of grow naturally from there. So you don't need to compromise on your values.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that you raised there, Phil. And I think a lot of businesses can suffer from this, is, as you mentioned there, is chasing work without actually strategically thinking about, well, who is my target audience? How do they benefit from my product or service, and how can I communicate that to them? There's a formula for success that I use and I share with all my clients, which is be times do equals have. So first of all, if you work out what it is that you want to have, okay, so what type of clients do you want to have? And then, okay, what do I need to do to get those clients? Now, the thing is, what I find is most business owners therefore focus on what they need to do, and they do, and they just constantly doing more. They forget the be part. Who do I need to be?
Exactly that.
What is it? What type of business do I need to be to attract these type of clients? That's often the bit that's forgotten about. It's work harder, work more, work harder, work more. Chase those clients. Actually, the value in taking a step back and working out who do we need to be. So I got a really good point there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. I mean, I'd say as well, kind of when new business comes to us, there was a time when we started up, we'd almost try and oversell, like, oh, you should work with us because X, Y, Z. Whereas now, I feel we've reached a place where we'll kind of have a really honest discussion with people. Quite often, we'll tell businesses, you don't need us. Like, we're not the service for you. Away you go. And I think not only does that kind of build honesty and trust, but the work you do win, these people have 100% bought into you, and they, you know, we are their advisors. They'll listen to us, and we kind of do better things, I think.
Yeah, again, there's some very valid points there, Phil, in terms of becoming that trusted advisor. You know, people like to work with people that they know, like, and trust. So it's building up that trust with them, but also just being open and honest. One of the best definitions that I've heard of selling, because we all get a little bit conscious about selling, and but actually one of the best definitions I've heard of it is professionally helping people to buy. You know, so actually you're not selling to them, you're helping them to buy. You know, and helping them to understand what it is that your business, your product how it can help them.
It's interesting, you know, you asked me earlier about advice. So one of the best pieces of advice I had in training was around sales training. And the person delivering it was like, you think of yourself more like a GP. So if someone is coming to you and you're trying to find out where does it hurt, you know, what's your pain point, and then you're kind of suggesting things that you think might support them. And that, for me, it kind of works quite well. You're not here, this is what we've got, but just taking that approach makes you really think how you should listen. And like, listening is so important, and understanding where the pain point is and suggesting things is much more beneficial than just, this is what we offer, this is why you need it.
I think that analogy of a GP is great, because, you know, a GP can't diagnose something until they've asked the questions.
Exactly that.
They don't know what medicine or what to suggest until they've asked the questions and understand what the patient what symptoms they're experiencing, and that's what you've just described there. Is the same with businesses. Ask them questions and understand. So great. So what does the future hold for Supplytrain?
Well, so I guess over the next 12 months, our kind of main focus is growing this apprenticeship agency service. So as we're very fortunate, as I said earlier, we've won a kind of contract with the fishing industry. So we're hoping we'll be the first ever employer of fishing apprentices in the country, believe it or not. And we feel this is, a really good model for businesses where the standard apprenticeship employment route doesn't work. As I mentioned, film and TV, where there's a lot of freelancers, is a great model. And those smaller businesses, kind of micro businesses that just want someone to handle everything, that's where we can support. So that's our kind of key focus, is to really kind of drive that and see how many organizations we can support, and how many young people we can get into fulfilling jobs.
Right, and out of interest, do you have a vision of like how many young people you would like to help in the future, or?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we were very fortunate in the pandemic. We actually, as a business, did remarkably well from the pandemic. Rishi Sunak announced something called the Kickstart scheme, which helped young people under the age of 25 on universal credit get jobs, and we acted as a Kickstart gateway. And from a very, very small team, we were the biggest Kickstart gateway in the whole Southeast. So we helped 900 young people get a job in just over a year, and we've built our infrastructure. So we're very big on our kind of CRM and making sure kind of everything works together. So we'd like to think over, apprenticeships will take longer than that, but I think we want to get to a stage where we're kind of helping 200-300 young people every year access a decent job.
That's brilliant. Well, first of all, congratulations on helping 900 sort of people get a job. I mean, that's phenomenal in its own right.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'd be great to see you get to that sort of 200, sort of 300. That'd be brilliant to see, and obviously grow from there as well, because it's to help young people into work is absolutely fantastic. So yeah. And look, a question I like to ask everybody that I interview is what's the best advice that you would give to an 18-year-old you?
This is controversial, but I'd say don't go to university.
Right, okay.
I feel I went to university and I dropped out, and I like, looking back now, I think a lot of it's just a kind of rite of passage. Everyone is told, "Oh, finish your A-levels, go to university." And for me, I was done with academic learning. I just like learning through doing. I like hands-on. I like making mistakes and going, "Oh, next time I should do it like that." Much more kind of practical. So honestly, that I would say, just get a job, learn, and start what I'm doing now much earlier than I did, because I didn't really start doing this till my mid-30s, and I could have been doing it at least 10 years before that, I think. Yeah,
I think this is, and look, by the way, I've got two daughters. One's only 14, but the other one's 17. But yeah, it's working out what that vocation in life actually is, isn't it? What it is that you're passionate about, what excites you, what it is that that you want to do, going as you get older. And sometimes that can be really difficult to work out when you're younger, isn't it? As you get older, you realise, and look, I think it's it took me until I was probably in my 40s, so a lot later than you, until I worked out what it was that actually, what was my vocation. In other words, being a business coach and mentor, and helping businesses to survive and thrive and that sort of thing. And that took me a while to work that out. But I'm pleased to say that I found it. So, and I'm glad that you found yours as well. And look, thank you very much for doing this interview. It's been really good to find out more about you and about your journey and about your business. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's really nice talking to you.
Great, thank you.